Hey, here's what we're going to talk about this morning. We're going to talk about manifesting a destiny. We're going to talk about motivation. We're going to talk about for a few minutes all the things that I'm going to cover in this Zoom all-day workshop that I'm doing on April 27th. You can find registration for that on the fan page on my website, richardbrook.com, and somebody will drop it in these comments. So this is a prelude to what we're going to be doing all day. First thing I want to talk about is the distinction between desire and destiny. This is the biggest breakthrough personally that I've ever had in my life. Came to me through a guy named Lou Tice, who owned the Pacific Institute in the early 1980s. And here's the distinction. See, I always thought, even from all the success books that I read and, everything I listened to, I thought that if I wanted something bad enough, that if I was even willing to work hard for it, that if I was willing to get educated, that if I was a nice person, if I was a good person, I worked hard, and I really, really wanted something, that the universe somehow would deliver it. Like, I would end up deserving it. And so I would get it. And of course, my first couple of years as a network marketer, I wanted success so bad. I mean, I wanted it so bad I could taste it. And I worked hard 7 days a week, went anywhere, went to any seminar, anybody would, propose, invested any amount of money, like whatever it took. I mean, I was full time in network marketing, but 2 years later, I was like $25,000 in debt on credit cards. I'd had 2 cars repossessed. I lost my home, everything. Like I was all in for success. Why? Because I was committed and, I was disciplined, I guess. I went to all the events. Nobody could say, hey, here's an event. It's $100 or it's $50 or you got to fly to Chicago or didn't matter to me. I went everywhere anybody told me to go. And I thought I did everything they told me to do. And I wasn't any further along 2 years later than when I started. And that kind of all falls in the paradigm of how bad do you want something? And, that kind of flows into your work ethic and how committed you are, which is a word I'll talk about later in this broadcast. So then Lou Tice introduced me to a different distinction that he didn't call it this, but for sake of this live, I'll call it the difference between desire and destiny. And what do I mean by destiny? Well, destiny is a conversation that you and I have with ourselves. It's an expectation, it's a belief, it's a mindset that not only do we want something, but we believe and we expect that we're going to get it. And we see, and this is a critical piece, we see that what we need to do every day, we see ourselves doing it. You've probably heard me call this like green light visions. So, for example, let's say you want to get fit, which is, one of my elusive long-term visions. I'm getting better and better at it. But, fitness is a simple thing. There's no mystery. You don't need to read a book. You don't need to buy a course. You don't need to do anything, right? All you need to do is eat clean and fresh. Everybody probably knows how to do that. If you don't, Google it on YouTube, and 15 minutes later, you know what to eat and what don't eat, what not to eat. And, work out, build muscle, do aerobics, 3 or 4 or 5 times a week, and eat less calories than you burn, right? Then you get fit, you lose weight. Simple as that. What's missing though? I mean, everybody in the world wants to get fit, right? So desire's there, but how come most of the world is fat and getting fatter? Because they don't have a story about destiny. They don't see themselves getting fit. They see themselves as unfit. And it's the same thing with money. It's the same thing with peace in a relationship. Is we may want these things really bad, but if we haven't mastered the story in every fiber of our being, in our heart, in our mind, in our soul, if we haven't mastered a story of inevitability, then all we're going to be doing is swimming upstream. So with that breakthrough, here's what I went to work on. Not how bad I wanted something. And I know, I've seen a couple of comments in here, like Les Brown's hungry video. I mean, that's one of the best videos on the planet, right? But Les knows hungry will point you in a direction, but hungry won't necessarily manifest anything. What'll manifest it is you having a story that you're manifesting it. You having a belief and an expectation that you'll manifest it. So how do you go about getting that? Well, this is what Lou Tice taught me, that there's just a difference between goal setting and I want this and I want that, and actually programming every fiber of your being that you're going to get it, and programming every fiber of your being that you are going to do everything that's required on a daily basis to get there. And the daily basis thing is, I didn't get that from Lou Tice, but that's a secret sauce thing. Because, let's say, for example, you want to build a network. You want to build a big team. That's real simple. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars. You don't need to go to a big event to okay, what do I do to build a big team? I'll tell you right here. I'll save you $100,000 in training right here. Talk to 1 or 2 people a day, every day. You can take Sunday off if you want, every day, until you have a team that's running away from you. Might take you a year or 2. Talk to 1 or 2 people a day. It's not any different than if you were trying to build from scratch a window business, and you want to go sell windows to people. Well, the only way you're going to build that business is go talk to people, go knock on doors, or, somehow get your opportunity, get your product in front of people on a regular basis. That's advertising. That's marketing. Network marketing is marketing to your network and expanding your network by adding people to it that you meet. No secret in how to build a network. Talk to 1 or 2 people a day until the thing explodes. That's all you have to do. So now think about, okay, you probably already knew that, right? Now think about wow, all the things that get in the way of doing that every day, including you look at the name of a prospect and you say, oh, they're too busy, or they wouldn't be interested, or they won't listen to me. See, that story right there, that's what keeps you from being successful. So you got to change your story about the inevitability of where you're going, and you have to change your story, or as James Clear says in the great interview that I did with him a month or so ago, you got to change your identity. You got to change who you see yourself as. You may see yourself as somebody that's committed and trying and works hard and wants it really bad. But if you also see yourself as somebody who's timid, that's afraid of what people are going to think, if you see yourself as a procrastinator, if you see yourself as distracted, if you see yourself as predominantly something other than a networker, a different career or a different passion, then of course you're not going to do what you need to do every day. So how do you change that story? How do you move a red light or a yellow light vision to a green light vision? Well, again, it's simple. I'm not suggesting it's easy. The great conundrum of self-motivation is you actually have to be somewhat self-motivated to get self-motivated, because self-motivation is an art, and most of us don't have it. We don't have it wired. We don't have it nailed. We don't understand what it's all about. We're just a victim of our childhood interpretations. We're 40, 50, 60 years old, just rehearsing, regurgitating, recycling a 5-year-old's view of the world and of themselves. So how do you change that? How do you break out of that? Well, one is environment. So one way that you change how you see the world and change your story is environment. So you probably, if you're in network marketing, and you probably have been paying attention to your upline, one of the mantras your upline or your company's always talking about is, hey, get on the conference call, get on the Zoom, come to the event, hold weekly get-togethers, get together with your team, get together with your upline. What's that all about? Environment. If you hang around a bunch of people that are on fire about building the same thing you're on fire about building, guess what you're going to become just through osmosis? You're going to adopt their thought processes. You've probably seen that little video I posted a couple times of the barn cat that grew up in a barn with prancing horses, and the barn cat prances everywhere the barn cat goes. Why? Because that's what the barn cat grew up seeing and watching, is that animals prance, the prancing horses. So the cat prances. Every one of us are products of our environment. And unfortunately, we might be 50 years old and we're still acting out the environment we grew up in. Age 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like that. We haven't intentionally created an environment that could change something for us. So who do you hang around? Who do you listen to? Are you like the Lone Ranger? Are you hiding out? Or are you getting around at every opportunity? Are you on Zooms? Are you at events? Are you tapped into people that are going the same direction that you are? Are you listening to and associating with and hanging out with people that champion you? That's environment, right? So, and the second area of how do we change our belief system is experts. So we grew up with two really powerful experts in our life. That's our parents. Our parents, told us how the world worked, how we worked, what to expect, what the laws of the world were, what we should believe about ourselves and other people. And of course, we believed them. We didn't have discernment. 2-year-olds don't have discernment. They just adopt the belief of their parents. So now that you're 30, 40, 50 years old, you can have some discernment, you can have some critical thinking, and you can ask yourself, do you want all of the values and beliefs that your parents had? Or would you like to break from some of those values and beliefs and have some others, have some of your own, have some that maybe apply to the world at large today, today's economy, today's climate, today's environment, right? And your own personal, authentic values and goals. That's the process of authenticity. So for you to move in that direction and develop some beliefs around that, you have to pay attention to different experts. And who are those experts? Well, you decide. So just look at, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Most importantly, who do you want to become? And study those people. Pay attention to them. That's kind of the essence of what most people call personal development, is we're listening to audios or we're reading books, but are you doing that every day? Every day, do you spend 15, 20, 30 minutes studying the people, the thought processes that you want to become? That's tapping into the experts. So that's the second way to change what you think. Now, why experts? Because we tend to believe experts more than ourselves, right? We believed our parents, we believed our teachers, we believed perhaps government officials or newscasters growing up. And so you want to tap into that paradigm that we tend to believe people that we hold as more credible and having more authority than we do. So go find the people that you believe have more authority and more credibility than you do, that are in your lane where you want to go and who you want to become, and study them every day. Study them. And the last is experience. Experience is how we get most of our beliefs. The problem for most of us is we're just self-fulfilling prophecies. So the experience that we have is based on what we've done. We just look back at, well, this is what happened last month, or this is what I did last year, or this is what my life has been like. Therefore, I establish a belief about what's inevitable and what's possible for me moving forward. So that's just a vicious circle. It's chasing our tail. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So how do you break out of that? Well, again, I got this from Lou Tice, although, Napoleon Hill and Wallace Wattles certainly spoke to it. I didn't really relate to their language very well, so I didn't really get it. But I got it from Lou Tice. And simply this, and you just, you can study this. You don't have to take my word for it. But the part of us that's powerful, and it's not just the subconscious mind, it's all of us. It's our emotional self, it's our gut, which is perhaps a more powerful mind than the subconscious mind. It is our emotions, it's our spirit, it's our body, it's our subconscious mind, it's all of us. That part of us that moves people and gets moved cannot tell the difference between a real experience and one vividly imagined. Cannot. Now we can tell the difference, which is where we get derailed. So we maybe we write out an affirmation and we read the affirmation a few times, and then what we say to ourselves is, oh, that's silly, that's not me, this isn't going to work, and so we quit doing it, right? Because now what we're making our Lord is our conscious mind. And the conscious mind is just ego. It's so superficial. It's so what's it worth in terms of earning an income? Maybe $100,000, $200,000 a year doing some job. That's it. All the conscious mind is designed to do is memorize what's good and what's bad and try to keep ourselves being right in relationship to other people and not burning our fingers on a hot stove or running out into a busy street. That's basically all the conscious mind is worth. But what's the rest of us worth? What's the part of us worth that has intuition and can move people and is moved by ideas and inspiration? What's that part worth? Well, I don't know. What's Jeff Bezos worth? Something like $150 billion divided by 2. Sorry, I couldn't help that. But, $1 billion. So $2 billion. The guy that owns the island where Kimmy and I live, he's worth like $60 billion. Somebody asked me one time, how does somebody afford to buy a private Hawaiian island? I said, well, that's pretty simple. If you got $60 billion and you have it invested at 10%, that's $6 billion a year. That's $500 million a month just in interest income. 1 month's income, he buys a Hawaiian island. That's the kind of abundance that the spiritual and the emotional and the intuitive and the subconscious part of us can create. So I give you those big, huge examples. Think of Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy and, Ronald Reagan and the people that in our society, Mother Teresa, that have moved millions and millions of people with just their words or their deeds, right? And then let's bring it all the way down to what do we need to motivate you and I to do? How about just talk to 1 or 2 people every day about our opportunity and our products? Do you think we're capable of that? Of course we are. You probably some of you seen the so secret, not so secret formula where I'll pay you $500 to talk to 1 person a day. Now all of a sudden, notice how easy it is to talk to 1 person a day. So, all of this, folks, is designed around getting us to do the daily. Just do the daily. That's how you get anywhere you want to go, is just motivate yourself to do the daily. And so you want to harness all of these things, harness your environment, harness the experts, harness experience. And how do you break the cycle of that experience? You visualize yourself doing what you need to do every day. Visualize it over and over and over and over again. Visualize yourself talking to somebody successfully. Visualize them. You don't have to visualize them saying yes, because that's trying to manage their vision. And, that's one of the things that I'll get to that later. But what you don't want to do is set yourself up to try to manifest something that might be in conflict with somebody else's vision. So it doesn't really serve you to visualize people saying yes or people enrolling in your business. How about just take care of your business? How about if you just manage you? How about if you just visualize, number 1, that you pick up the phone and call? Here's a cheap trick for you. Just try this. Baby steps. I believe in baby steps. Remember that movie, What About Bob? So try this as a baby step. So just take out your phone. You gotta all do it right now. Just take out your phone. Actually, do it before the live's over, or do it right after the live, and then comment what happened. Just take out your phone and go to anybody on your phone that you have not approached in, let's say, the last 90 days. Maybe you've never approached them or you haven't approached them in the last 90 days. And just take their first name and type their first name into a Facebook message or a text or an email and just say, Donnie McCormick. I see Donnie on here. So here's what I would put in the text message. Donnie, question mark? Donnie, question mark. That's it. That's the missile you launch. That's the message you put in the bottle. Now think about how easy it would be to do that. Just say Mary, question mark. Betty, question mark. Annie, question mark. That's all you have to do, right? Now, if that person wants to talk to you, if you have enough of a relationship that they want to talk to you, sooner or later when they look at their messages, they're going to respond, yep, what's up? Now, do you see how the baby step puts your toe in the water, but you've got momentum and you're almost like committed, like you have to follow through on the conversation. Does that make sense? So if you're scared to death to just talk to people, just put their name in the chat with a question mark and send it. Now when they respond, you got to make something up, right? You got to be in a conversation. I'm not going to go in here to what to say, but study the Authentic Networker if you want to know what to say to people. But see, so what you want to visualize is just visualize yourself having the courage and the joy and the peace and the power to reach out to people in peace and in power, not to visualize them saying yes, because maybe they don't want to say yes. Maybe that's gonna like put your vision at odds with their vision. How about just motivate you to do what you need to do? And here's all you need to do to be successful. You need to talk to people every day. You need to ask them lots of questions. If you talk to them for 10 minutes, 9 minutes of that needs to be you asking them questions and listening. Asking questions and listening. So visualize that. Probably if I were to follow most of you around and you actually get around a prospect and you start talking to them for 10 minutes, 9 minutes of that is you talking. So if that's probably true for you, visualize changing that. Visualize asking questions. Visualize being at peace. Visualize it being fun. Visualize the conversation being engaging, even if they have objections. That's okay. Visualize you doing what you need to do, which is to pick up that phone and call people, or pick up that phone and text people. And if you need the super baby step, just drop their name in there with a question mark and send it. And in an hour or a minute or two, you'll be engaged in a conversation. So these are the 3 ways that you change the destiny part, that you master the destiny part. You master your environment. You master the experts that you listen to. I saw Fraser Brooks on here earlier. It's my cousin. I'm doing a genealogy trace back so I can go all the way back, find out like who our common relatives are in England or London or wherever we came from. So, just like change the environment, change the experts you listen to. Fraser Brooks is somebody worth listening to. The man knows what he's talking about. So, and there's a million of them. So, it doesn't really matter who you listen to as long as their philosophies and their values match yours. Just listen to people that are going somewhere. And so you change your environment, you change your experts, and then you change your experience. And how do you change your experience? Well, you can't chicken and egg it. So the way you change your experience is you have to visualize yourself doing what it is you want to do, so that tomorrow you can flip back on that visualization and it will be for you like it already happened, like it was real. So that's how you experience changing your destiny, is through visualization. And so think about this. If you visualized just for 90 days, every day for 90 days, just engaging with people happily, with joy, with fun, listening, being curious, just engaging. Don't worry about where the conversation goes. Just engage. Just talk to people every day. Keep track of it so you know really whether or not you are. Just visualize that. Write a story about it, write a vision about it, and study it every day, and then actually do it. And then let's say you did it for 30 days. What would be the tendency for the 31st day? See, the 31st day, Now you would start to be thinking about, well, what is my experience around connecting with people and approaching people on a daily basis? And you would reflect back on that last 30 days, even if you hadn't talked to anybody, but you visualize talking to somebody, that lands in the part of you and I that is powerful as though you actually did it. And you'll be in a much better position on day 31 to actually do it. Day 32, even a greater position. So you do it 60 days in a row, and day 61 is way easier and way more probable. And you do it 90 days in a row, and day 91 is way more probable and way easier. And that's how you change your destiny, folks. It's not about commitment. You know, I think commitment is a total bogus, bankrupt concept. Same thing with discipline. All you need to be is motivated. You know, if you're on fire about doing what you need to do, if you're excited about talking to people, do you need to be committed? Do you need to be disciplined? You only need to be committed and disciplined when you're sabotaging yourself. When the story you're telling yourself is, I don't want to do this, this isn't going to work, this is too hard. When that's your story, then the only thing maybe you can rely on is, oh, I'm committed, I promised, right? But still, when you say I'm committed and I promised, what you're seeing in your mind's eye is you're seeing yourself doing it. So you're using commitment and discipline to trigger a vision of doing it. And that's all you need is the vision of doing it. You don't need commitment as a promise, or discipline as I do stuff whether I want to do stuff or not. How about train our mind and our heart and our emotions and our spirit to want to talk to people? Just like if I paid you $500 to talk to one person a day, would you want to talk to somebody? Yes, you would. Would you figure out who to talk to? Absolutely. What would you say to them? You don't know, but you'd figure it out. And what would you do if they said no? You still get $500, so it's okay with you, right? So these are the concepts that we're going to work with all day. On the 27th, it's a Saturday. I'm dedicating the whole day. It'll go at least 4 hours. It might go 5. And we're going to flush out, what is your vision? What's keeping you from talking to people every day? If you're talking to people every day, but you're not getting results, then who are you being when you're talking to people? Which we'll start with probably as somebody that talks 9 minutes out of the 10 minutes. And so you just got to change who you are and what you do, and create visions and get on fire about doing the daily things, and you'll get there, folks. You'll get anywhere you want to go. And so the last thing I want to talk about is that the journey versus the destination. So I talked earlier about other people's visions. So just imagine this, okay? There's 7 billion people in the world, or 6 billion people in the world, and they all have visions about something. They have lots of visions. So let's say you have a vision to be the #1 distributor in your network marketing company. Well, guess what? Everybody else in your network marketing company has a vision too. And some of them might have a vision of being #1. So the only way you can be #1 is if you beat them, they lose, you win, but you're in competition with their vision. And so that's why if you talk to anybody that is a manifestor, anybody that has created extraordinary results in your life, they'll also tell you things don't always work out the way you specifically imagined them. You don't always end up where you thought you would end up. And so what you got to do is to embrace the process and embrace the flow. What you want to do is fall in love with the process. Have the process be the vision. Have the journey be the vision, not the end game. Because the end game is susceptible to other people's visions. Might be your company's owner's vision. Might be other distributors' vision. When it comes to enrolling people, if your vision is, I've got to get you in the business, that's my vision, you set yourself up for disappointment. Because if I'm a prospect, I got a vision too, and it might be not to get in your business. I don't want to do your thing, at least not right now, maybe never, right? So how about have the vision be, what I love to do every day is just meet new people and learn their story. I'm just who I am. James Clear, identity, who I am is curious. I'm a curious connector. I like to meet new people. I like to learn all about them. You can't learn all about people if you're telling them all about you, right? So how do you learn about people? You ask them questions and you listen. So if you make the journey the vision, if you make your state of being the vision, then you're in total control of the process. Doesn't matter what other people do. You're in total joy. You're in total bliss, just doing your thing, right? And we all know if you talk to one or two people a day and you're curious instead of being a know-it-all, you're going to end up building a big business. Everybody that's ever built a big business, personally enrolled 60, 80, 100 people in their first 2 years in the business. You can't do that without talking to people every day. So wrap this up. If you haven't told me where you're from and what company you're with, I'd love it if you would drop that in the comments. Where are you living and what network marketing company are you from? While you're doing that, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories. A couple of stories I did with this exact concept. And I'm going to tell you these two stories because they're improbable. And they also speak to that things don't always turn out the way you imagine. So one of the visions that I've had, it was a goal, it was a desire, but I also visualized it over and over and over again. I had it written down for decades in a book that I studied, and I did research on it, like how much do they cost, and how long do you have to book them ahead of time? So the vision was that for one of my birthdays, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, something like that, I was going to have enough wealth to be able to afford to have the Doobie Brothers play at my birthday party. And I had this vision for 25, 30 years. So about every 3 or 4 years, I'd, do a little research, ask somebody, so how much are the Doobie Brothers? And they'd always come back, they're like $200,000 or $100,000 or some crazy number. And although I probably could have afforded it, I like the $100,000 or $200,000 more than I like the Doobie Brothers. So I always kind of passed on it. But I always kept it out there as that's something someday I'm going to do. So I believe this was I guess it was my 50th birthday, 60th birthday. I don't remember. Probably my 50th. So I started right here, actually. I started actually in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I rode my Harley from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho to our ranch here. By the way, I'm showing you our view, but this is our ranch in the foothills below Yosemite. I don't know if you can see snow-capped ridges up there, but that's Yosemite behind me. We're in Central California. And so I rode my Harley here to our ranch in the foothills below Yosemite. And then a half a dozen of my high school buds, who are still my best friends, we rode our Harleys to Cabo and back, which from here is about 1,400 miles. It's 1,000 miles south of the Mexican border. And it was an extraordinary adventure. One of the best trips I've ever taken. And so we get back from Cabo. First, we had a birthday party here at the ranch, and then we all took off and rode our Harleys to Cabo. We get back. And Sandy Ellsberg, who's been a friend of mine for a long time, and her sister, Stacy Clark, they had some interesting connection that I didn't know anything about with Bruce Cohen, who is still the manager of the Doobie Brothers and has been for 40 years, 50 years, however long. And Bruce Cohen owns a winery up in Napa, and Cohen Wines. Some of you, if you follow wines, may know his wines. So they got some kind of invitation. I don't know. It was a friend of a friend. It was going to be a private 200-person private concert and a fundraiser for foster kids. I was going to say orphans, but foster kids in Napa County. And at that time, I was heavily involved in foster kids around the country. Like had some programs and, like raising money and awareness for the foster kid program in our country. So they invited me to go to this auction. And all I really knew about it when I said yes was the auction. But then later they said, and oh, by the way, it's a private concert. And all the old bands from the 70s are going to be there playing, including the Doobie Brothers. I thought, I can't believe it. And I still, it was like, oh my gosh. So 3 weeks later, I end up at Bruce Cohen's winery. There's a couple hundred people there. We're raising a bunch of money. Doobie Brothers are playing for an hour. And guess who ends up on stage for their last song, singing Listen to the Music with the Doobie Brothers, with my best high school friends out in the small audience, 2 hours away from where I grew up. Me, singing Listen to the Music with the Doobie Brothers. It didn't turn out exactly the way I manifested it or the way I visualized it, but close enough, right? And just like amazing that those things happen. And then some of you have, if you've been around a long time, you might remember, I don't even know if you can see it or not, but this is in Mach 2. You see that right there? That's the cover of Success Magazine in March of 1992. And that's me. That's what I looked like in March of 1992. And so here's another vision I had since about 1980, 81. My favorite personal development magazine was Success Magazine. It had the right articles, it had the right authors. I surrounded myself with experts from Success Magazine and that environment. I read Success Magazine cover to cover every month. And in 1983, I was at a state fair in Akron, Ohio, and I walked by one of these booths that allow you to take your picture and then superimpose it on famous magazines. And I had this vision up to that point for about 5 or 6 years that what I wanted to do is I wanted to show everybody from my hometown that what I was doing in network marketing was legitimate. It was a phenomenal path because, some of them went with me, like I actually went with them, but most of them just poo-pooed it, thought we were crazy. We were like scamming people and, we were just broke and desperate. So I thought, well, if I could get on the cover of Success Magazine, I wouldn't send it to anybody back in my hometown, but maybe some of them would read it. Maybe somebody would send it to them. And then they would see, I wouldn't have my hands on the dirty deed, but they would see how successful I'd become in network marketing. And so when I saw this booth and saw an opportunity to put my face on the cover of Success Magazine, I thought, oh, well, this is a perfect affirmation, a perfect visualization. So I bought Success Magazine, Forbes, and Fortune, put my picture on all three of them. Forbes and Fortune weren't my favorite magazines, so those pictures I just filed away somewhere. But Success Magazine, me on the cover of Success Magazine, was on my credenza from 1983 until actually beyond 1992. But in about December 1991, January 1992, Richard Poe, the chief editor of Success Magazine, called me. He was referred to me by John Fogg. He called John Fogg first, and he asked John Fogg, who should you interview? Some of you know John Fogg's like a renaissance man in network marketing, one of the people responsible for network marketing coming of age. And John Fogg said, you need to talk to Richard Brooke. So I'm actually right here at the ranch when this guy calls me in 1992, and I'm talking to him, and I said, why are you calling me, by the way? Like, there's a million people more successful than me in network marketing, including, why aren't you talking to Rich DeVos? And he said, we did call Richard DeVos, but we haven't heard back from him. And he said, we like your chicken plant story. So you know why Richard DeVos didn't call him back? Because I had myself on the cover of Success Magazine for 9 years. And in March of 1992, I was on the cover of Success Magazine with a feature article about network marketing. It was the first time Success Magazine had ever featured network marketing. It was the highest selling issue in the 100-year history of Success Magazine. And don't ask me why, but they've never done it since. It's different than the people that put themselves on Success from Home. That's something you buy. Success Magazine has never featured anybody since. Isn't that crazy? But it just goes to show you what you can manifest if you visualize yourself in the process and you just do it over and over and over and over again, and you teach the part of us that, according to Jeff Bezos, can create up to $150 billion in net worth if you teach the part of us that's powerful just to do the simple things every day, you can get anything you want, folks. You can live the life that you dream of. You can do the things every day, whether it's fitness, whether it's communication, whether it's relationships, whether it's talking to people, whatever it is. You can live the life you want to live. And that's what we're going to talk about on April 27th for 4 or 5 hours. I'm going to talk for 30 minutes. Then you're going to do exercises. If you come on the 27th, you got to bring a buddy with you. You have to buddy up with somebody. And if you need help doing that, just let me know. You can email me at rb@richardbrook.com and we'll find you a buddy. But you need a buddy for Saturday the 27th because you're going to do some exercises together. Then you're going to come back and I'm going to coach you on what you did. We'll have a lot of fun. And I believe you'll get a 10 to 1,000-fold return on your investment, providing you do the work. Hey, thank you for joining me here this morning. I know it probably went longer than most of you thought, but I hope you got some valuable ideas. Look forward to seeing you down the road. Onward. Remember, the work is worth it.